Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of The View. So, today we are going to be talking about a topic that is kind of come back in the limelight, I would say, because of this film that's recently released, Animal. But this is not going to be a review of the movie Animal, and it's not going to be, we're not going to be talking about the film or the criticism of the film, but we're going to be talking about the central topic of what is called as toxic masculinity and masculinity in general. So, Robin, I want to start by asking, like, like toxic masculinity is like the new buzzword. No matter what a guy does, people always may say toxic. It's like you're being toxic or
Yeah.
you're being too masculine or aggressive. Let's just start with the definition. So, what do you think is toxic masculinity, or what's all this new shit all about, man?
Yeah. Honestly, I couldn't answer it because I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time, but I don't know when becoming a man or behaving like a man became toxic. Uh, it is apparently now, but wasn't when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And so, looking at everything that's going around, not just in conjunction with the film, but in general, the world over. I think any person who does anything that can be slightly considered out of what the norm is asking him to do.
So,
Uh,
would you say something like, as a man, if he does something which would be slightly in the domain of being assertive, dominant, or maybe what like a bit aggressive,
sure, sure.
which is natural, I feel is natural. Let's try to understand one thing. Like there are two basic. I wouldn't say genders because that would be a whole different thing. But let's say two basic
No, no, no. There are,
sexes,
there
right?
are two genders, and there
Right.
are only two genders.
Right. So there's male and female. So
Yeah.
as a man, you have certain biological traits, and I believe aggression in the right sense is
Mhm.
not a bad thing.
Sure.
And it being,
So,
you know what I mean?
so yeah. So, sorry to interrupt here, but when you say aggression, I understand what you mean, and by that it doesn't just mean going and going after someone or committing an act of violence. You can be aggressive in your pursuits,
Right?
right? Uh, you can be aggressive, say, towards protecting your family, your loved ones, whoever. Yeah. So, and I would go as far as to say you can maybe switch the word aggression with passionate also sometimes. Could
Correct.
be that. But so my understanding of this entire concept is that they just don't want you to be men anymore.
Yeah.
They want you to be a bunch of pansies, and I'm gonna go all out. I don't care what anyone thinks, but this is my view. They don't want you to be what a man is supposed to be. And when they say what a man is supposed to be, I did not decide that.
Hmm.
Neither did you. It's been here since the Stone Age men carved the drawings in the walls. It's been there. The society works on a certain function where men have a role, women have a role, and that's how we have evolved to this stage.
Correct. And that makes a lot of sense. Like if you like you mentioned Stone Age, right? So if you go back in time and you see, primarily men had the responsibility of going out and hunting for food, and every single night. So basically, if you see why men are more like aggressive, again, I think the term itself is like misinterpreted in society today. But
Sure.
I'm gonna still stick with the term. I like it. So a man is more aggressive because you think every night or every day you have to go out, and
Mhm.
it's a risk or reward ratio is like so high. If you fail, you die.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you're dead. So, and if you win, you will get meat for one day, and again you have to do it all over again the next day.
Right.
So as a man, your risks are so much higher, and the reward that you get for that particular activity is limited. and that has happened over hundreds of years before we evolved. So it's ingrained in a kind of our like genetic makeup in our DNA. And that aggression, obviously, it's way more subdued now. People today are not going out and just hunting and killing people.
Yeah.
Even the aggression has evolved in a certain way, and like you said, it has evolved in a way where you're aggressive towards your pursuits,
Hmm.
or if you want to build a company, or if you want to work, or if you want to do anything, if you're like a sports or an athlete, even that needs a certain level of aggression. You can't be a pansy and be a top class athlete in the world. And so it, that term itself, aggression, it plays a part in every scenario
Hmm.
of life. And in the see, like even we were like young, when we were kids, this whole thing was not there, like,
No.
calling out men for being men.
Yeah.
And even
You
I
know,
kind of believe there's like a system or some kind of propaganda which is trying to like, I don't know if it's the wokeness of it all, but it's trying to
it
subdue
is.
masculinity on a larger scale, which
Sure.
also could be a reason. Like the reason for that could be because that you could have more control over
Hmm.
the populace in as a whole. There
100%.
is no one to revolt,
100%.
there is no one to show aggression towards oppressive people.
Just to play the devil's advocate over here now, you said, men going out and hunting since primitive times. And now, recently, there have also been findings that you had women hunters. Great.
Hmm.
Nobody's denying that. Of course, you you can't say that every man is more is the dominant force against a woman. There are women who are dominant. Nobody's denying it. You pit me up against a UFC fighter, a female
Yeah,
UFC fighter, she's gonna knock me down. I know that, and I have nothing to be ashamed of
yeah,
because she is the dominant force in her arena.
correct,
But when you pit her against a male UFC fighter from the same weight class, I don't know. That would be a
correct.
match worth seeing. I'm not
Yeah,
saying who would win.
yeah,
There could
correct.
be the chance that the women also win. So, like you said, hunters, risk to reward, everything. Women also hunted back then. No denying it. They did. But when it came to protecting, it was
Hmm.
the man's job to
Correct.
protect. Yeah, against other predators, uh, clansmen, tribesmen, no, n number of threats that a human must have faced back then, or even now, for that matter. I would say protecting is traditionally a man's role,
Yeah.
and you can crib about it all you want, but nobody else can do that.
Also to like kind of emphasize on what you're saying, there's a reason for this also. From what my opinion is, see, we're a population of 7 billion people today,
Yeah,
right? And we just didn't get here overnight. And the only people who can make more people are women. I
yeah.
mean, women can give birth to humans. So
The woke would disagree with you, but sure.
I mean, yeah, yeah, sure. So the reason men are or were protectors back in the day is because women used to carry the baby, and they had to be protected, and they had to be sheltered in those caves while the man used to go out and hunt. Sure, there were women hunters too, but if you talk about like statistics, the number of hunters, if the ratio is from 90 to 10, I mean, no one went back in time to count, but I'm assuming based on the population that we have today, there were more women who were in the caves who were giving birth and protected, and there were men who were hunting and providing. And I understand that we're an evolved civilization today, and we don't need to adhere to the things that used to happen back in the day. And coming back to your point, saying that if a woman today is dominant, a UFC fighter, or even anyone, so society is not against that, and neither are we against it, and neither is anyone against that. Women can be dominant, they can be submissive, they can be whatever they want to be, and so can men. They can be submissive if they want to be, they can be aggressive. But I don't understand the shade that is coming to a man being a man. That is where you shouldn't be criticizing someone for being aggressive or just being
Sure, absolutely. Now with just briefly touching upon the movie because we already mentioned it in the intro, I would give you my personal opinion. The story is generic, it's
yeah,
basic. There's
yeah,
nothing to the story. I like the action
yeah,
for it. I like the music.
yeah,
The things I liked, I liked. I like Ranveer's acting, no doubt about it, whatever it may be. Then I don't know. I mean, like I said, the story was basic, but at least the movie, the treatment of the movie was different than what we've seen in a long time in Bollywood. It's fresh. I mean, it's a fresh, uh, I would say, offering that
Yeah,
has come. And I have seen way more violent and gory movies. I mean,
for
we
sure. Yeah, for sure.
we we grew up during the time when Arnold and Sylvester Stallone were the mainstays.
Exactly.
Yeah. People, saying this movie promotes misogyny and what is saying crimes against women.
Hmm.
I thought it was violent towards men. The number of men he's killed in the movie. I I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
spoilers or not, I don't care. But there's only one woman who was shot in the movie, as far as I remember. Rest of them were men, brutally hacked. Okay,
yeah.
brutally hacked.
Exactly.
You and then people are saying they have violence towards women. There was no misogyny in the movie at all.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that even mean? Like, तूने कुछ बोल दिया. You say something to your wife and suddenly it's misogynistic. Why?
Yeah.
Because see, that is the thing where everything comes in. People are so, I mean, snowflakes. They call them snowflakes for a reason, right? They can't take anything.
Correct.
There's no
Correct.
tenacity. No tenacity left. And then they
Yeah.
see one bullet shot, and then they go crazy saying, "अरे ये violent film है." ये violent film नहीं था.
Exactly. And what are the exact points they are talking about when they mention when they say that they have shown misogyny in the film?
So I
As
think what
hmm,
sorry, just because you yeah. So I think when they say misogyny, they say that he grabs her by the neck, uh, his wife, that is.
okay,
He
I don't remember
he points a gun to her face, and I
that. Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, on these 2 points, if someone is trying to choke you or someone is pointing a gun at you, I don't think misogyny is the first thing that would come to my mind. Okay.
I was just gonna say that pointing a gun at someone is not misogyny.
it's
Uh,
it's तो क्या इंसान को दिखाए तो आदमी को दिखाए तो ठीक है.
and no one is denying that he was a man child in the film. He was,
Yeah.
and no one is denying the fact that he was a psychopath. He's not being glorified in the film as like to do those amount of murders and to be obsessed with your father and to like in real life to do something not a sane guy would do it, and I'm pretty sure the director didn't portray him as a sane hero.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course not.
he's more of an anti-hero in the film. So
Yeah.
I don't see the glorification of the way people are talking about like he's been glorified. I honestly don't see any glorification per se.
And then you have people like Dhruv Rathi coming
Yeah,
online, spewing crap, spewing crap doesn't make sense. He's comparing this to something, the Nirbhaya case. क्या संबंध है उसका और इसका? He's
yeah,
saying कि murderers felt remorse, rapists didn't feel remorse. अरे तो उसका ये फिल्म से क्या लेना देना?
कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. That's very true, and
Yeah,
it's very
and
wrong.
then
In fact, what he did, bringing up
uh,
like certain subjects which are like unnecessary
yeah,
in this just to shade another film. The problem with guys with Dhruv Rathi is, apart from being an idiot, is that he's they firstly I believe they're propaganda driven, and secondly he wants to come across as this guy who has like a lot of information. Like all his videos you keep seeing, he tries to use different reference articles, and he wants to like show like a point from psychology and reference, but it
prove
makes
a
no
point
sense. It's not
basically.
relevant to what
Yeah.
you're trying to say, and especially to the film. And you're calling the director a cheap director looking to make
Huh.
300 crores by using action. It's not easy to make 300, 400, 500, 800 crores worldwide
Huh.
just by showing action.
Yeah.
That is not the logic behind it कि मैं action दिखाऊंगा तो 800 crore कमाएगी picture, which is what he said. So
Yeah.
that's the reason I call him an idiot, and for many other reasons as well. But it I don't know.
एक्शन तो थग्स ऑफ हिंदुस्तान में भी था.
Exactly.
क्या हो?
Everything is action. Like if a film is doing well
हाँ,
and people are watching it, it's not because of just action. I mean, I'm sure there's something else that Mr.
Then,
Director he's doing correctly.
yeah, just since we are speaking on the review that he did, I'll just bring this in, and people who don't know, me and Arhan, we go way back. Since school we've been friends, so we'll be speaking on certain things that we've done since we were kids. That is games, our first love,
Yeah,
games. Yeah,
yeah,
we the only games we played were violent games. The
yeah,
only movies we saw were action films.
yeah.
The music we listen to is what would be classified, say, as the devil's music or satanic music, whatever, violent music, is what they would call. I and Dhruv Rathi says that this builds over time, and
Mhm.
you become a psychopath, a sociopath, and then you would start killing. I I think what it's been 20, close to 15, 16 years now. More,
Yeah,
more. I think close to 20 years now. Since we know each other, and since we've engaged in GTAs and Counter Strike and all those sessions.
correct.
Have you went out and killed anyone yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. And I
And
don't
I
think.
mean, like jokes apart, like you said, like since a kid, all I've watched is gangster films, violent films, action films, played action, aggressive games, blowing shit up.
Yeah.
And in real life, honestly, I would be like the most non-violent person you would actually come across. In fact, even if someone does get into a fight with me, I would be like, I have to diffuse the situation
Yeah.
until and unless it's actually necessary to the point where you need to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not a maniac just because I've watched like hundreds of action films. I'm going to go out there and start beating people, or I'm going to beat my girlfriend, or any of that shit. What people think would happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my family could vouch for it. My girlfriend could vouch for it. I'm the least aggressive or violent or whatever people say.
But
So the premise of what that idiot Dhruv said in his video is is so silly and irrelevant. It makes no sense.
continuing on from what we heard Dhruv say, and generally what critics are saying about the film.
Hmm.
Uh, I know for a fact that there are shows which promote feminism and gender equality and everything, and I am not against those shows. People just the misfortune is that when you say that being a man is not wrong, they immediately associate you with being a chauvinist, a
Hmm.
misogynist, and whatnot. Dude, we are totally not for anything. It's like
Yeah,
everyone has a role to play. Yeah.
correct.
And then you have shows like Four More Shots and Thank You for Coming. I haven't watched them. Have you, by any chance?
I have.
You
I
have.
have.
Okay. So I think you would be in a better position to talk about them. But what I feel is when sure, when these shows come on, it's like celebrated. They are celebrated
Hmm.
for their expressionism,
Right.
for being, bold and whatever. But you show a man doing manly things, and that is wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, you would be a better, contributor here since you've seen
Yeah,
those shows.
like you said, like I've seen I watched that show, Four More Shots, and even this new film that came out recently,
Yeah.
Thank You for Coming.
Yeah.
So again, the hypocrisy, right? So in Four More Shots, there's this character played by I don't remember her name, but she cheats on her boyfriend like twice.
Okay.
And the way it's portrayed and the way it has come across, I believe, is it's okay. She was
Hmm.
navigating through life
Hmm.
and she made a mistake. She made a mistake twice.
Twice.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like she shouldn't be blamed. Like, okay, fine, she made a mistake, but I mean, she does feel guilt and regret or whatever, but it's not like put down upon. And there were nothing in social media or the media
Why
that it's wrong, but
cheats?
and
Sorry, just yeah. Cheats twice with the same guy or with different guys?
the same guy, I guess. I'm not
Also,
sure.
she.
I'm not like see,
Okay.
I mean, I don't take my word for it,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Because in both cases it's worse. Okay, I can
I
get.
think now that I cannot remember, it's a different guy. So
So she's cheating on her current boyfriend with two different guys.
yeah, so she has
So
one with
that's
the
not a mistake, and that is
no.
not being confused. I mean, if it is, then how is Ranbir Kapoor wrong for doing what he did in the film?
Yeah, no, but I'll stop you right there. See whether it's a
Yeah,
mistake or not. Like, see, so my point is like society is not society or like whatever. social media or these comments and all are not shading her character
Hmm.
by saying what she has done is wrong, but this guy cheats on his wife and he gets like a lot of hate for that.
Yeah.
And I personally am not against either. Like,
And not
for
for either.
I'm not for either. Yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
I would not. I'm not condoning people going and cheating in
Yeah.
relationship. But if someone does, I'm fine with that. Like, I wouldn't shade her or him for whatever reason they want to do it. And their characters on the screen, man, it
Yeah.
would be least of my concern. But the point is, like, if a man is doing it, like Ranbir Kapoor does it
Hmm.
in a film, then there is like a heavy amount of criticism saying that he's a toxic male who is cheating on his
Yeah.
wife and killing other men.
Objectifying.
Yeah, and whereas in this show
Yeah.
when it happened,
She's
it was
confused.
even considered as a
Yeah.
topic to be discussed upon. And thank you for coming. If I have to touch upon, then the entire film is basically about this lady who can't orgasm,
Okay.
who can't yeah,
Yeah.
get an orgasm by any dude that she has
Okay.
slept with.
Okay.
So eventually, she has to touch herself in
Hmm.
order to be able to get that orgasm. That is
Hmm.
the entire film, which is fine for whatever reasons the filmmaker must have thought to making it. But I feel if they would have made a film on a guy who criticizes girls can't getting them, like if the guy, the central character, would have said, "I've slept with so many girls and none of them could get me off, and now I'm just jerking off and I'm able to ejaculate." So I don't know how that would have been
Dude,
taken in society,
it,
but I don't think it would have been taken nicely.
it would have been a PR disaster.
So again, I'm not against her expressing herself as in that character, but I believe there's a hypocrisy in society, and
Yeah.
especially it's towards men.
Yeah. That's where our entire premise for this episode stands is there's this there's larger powers at play which are basically making sure that men stop behaving like men and then be start acting like sheep and are guilt
Yeah,
tripped into saying that we've been abusers over centuries. I've not been an abuser.
yeah,
I haven't seen anyone being an abuser. And and just I'll just put it out there. I don't care how much hate we get for it.
yeah,
When there are two parties in a situation,
hmm,
there will be one dominant force and there will
yeah,
be one submissive force. And
right,
this is true
right,
for everything in nature. You
correct,
look at a tennis match, if it's Federer versus Nadal, one will win because
yeah,
he was dominant on that day.
hmm,
Okay, that doesn't mean Nadal goes about crying कि ये मेरे को, he's basically subdued me or
yeah,
he's being toxic about his gameplay. Okay, there will always be a dominant force in any situation. You can't say there can't be. You couldn't, so men did. That's
hmm,
it.
hmm, correct, yeah, which is a fact. And I mean, even if the table turns the other way and there are certain aspects in which women are better than men, it's absolutely fine. I don't think
100%.
either of the genders should be criticized for being themselves or being any way they want to be.
There are aspects where women are much more dominant than men. And
Yeah.
by that I don't mean it in because I know immediately people would say, he's making fun of their cooking skill or I'm not saying that. Psychologically, maybe they are more persistent than men because I've seen the women around me, when they are psychologically stronger. Men would get triggered very easily in any situation. A woman
Hmm.
can keep a cool head in certain situations. I mean, in most situations, men can't. And that's fine. I mean, there are so many other things they are better at than men, and I think that is what makes both of them unique.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot compete in areas where the person has a different skill. I mean, set altogether. No, I can't. How can
Yeah.
I compete with them? And neither can they.
Yeah.
That is what's the beauty of nature, no? If
Correct.
everything was the same, then I don't know how things would work.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Makes sense. And like to conclude, like I think people should stop judging like based on men and women and male,
Yeah,
female, the whole thing. Just stop generalizing the whole thing,
yeah,
and just take it on face value for one particular incident. If there's one particular guy who is doing something which is not correct in terms of like murdering someone or like anything like whatever is legally not correct, you can call him out on that instead of saying
Yeah,
the entire, mm,
yeah,
instead of generalizing all of men.
sure,
And same for the women. If one
sure.
woman can't drive, you shouldn't
Uh,
say that all women can't drive. So um, having said that,
no, I know. Just, my closing thoughts on this would be that the moment you decide to label something separately,
hmm,
like when you say women's rights or women's sports, or that is the moment you create divide yourself.
correct, 100%.
Because if you think everyone is equal and you don't need a special treatment, don't ask for favors. Just say there's it's this or this. You don't have to label them. You don't have to say misogyny. You don't have to say feminism. You don't have to say chauvinism. You don't have to get into these labels. That is where you create the divide, and you're not bringing anything closer with that.
Hmm. I agree 100%. That does make a lot of sense.
So yeah, that was our rant for the week, and
Yeah.
we'll
There's a
hopefully
lot
catch you.
left unsaid, I would say, but I think we covered most of what we could have.
Eventually, in subsequent weeks, you will hear more from us.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
that was it for this week, and hopefully, we'll see you next week.